Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of Reddit Podcast Stories, where today, rude Karen assumed I was flirting with her and tried to reject me. Huge mistake. This was back in 08 or 09. I was in Ecuador at the time. I was staying at a hostel and was there for just over 3 weeks. Less than a block away, there was an Irish pub. This pub had really good bar food that wasn't on the menu of a lot of other restaurants in the area. So because of that, it was a mixed crowd. Popular with locals and backpackers because of the proximity to the hostel. I'm at the bar with some other guests from the hostel and we're expecting a few more to join us. Next to me is a bar stool, and on the other side of the bar stool are 2 women talking. They're obviously friends. In Spanish, I asked the woman closest to me if she's using this empty chair and if it's okay if I grab it. Spanish is not my first language, but I can still speak it clearly and confidently, and I grew up speaking it since I was a kid. She says to me in Spanish, with a smirk on her face, that she does not understand me and she does not speak English. I ask for the chair again in Spanish while motioning to it, and she says again that she doesn't speak English. I ended up getting the chair from a high-top table that was behind us that no one was using. At that point, she turns to her friend and I hear them mumble, "I don't know why he's talking to me." And I hear them chuckling to themselves, assuming that I was trying to flirt with her, and I guess she rejected me. Cue petty revenge. Throughout the evening, I know that she heard me conversing in Spanish with the bartender, so by this time, she knew I definitely spoke Spanish. The napkin dispenser is directly in front of me, and she asks me in Spanish if I can hand it to her. I look at her confused, and I point to the napkin dispenser, then look back at her and lean in a little as if I didn't hear what she had said. She again says that she needs napkins, and if I can hand her the napkin dispenser, all in Spanish. I look at the dispenser and then back at her, and I very clearly say, "Lo siento, no habla inglés." I'm sorry, I don't speak English. She gives me shocked Pikachu face, she turns bright red, and then I give her the cold shoulder. Don't flatter yourself, lady. I wasn't trying to flirt with you. I was just wanting the bar stool. No, the bar was not loud. There was music, but easy to carry on a conversation. So yes, I'm sure I said it correctly. I am bilingual. Spanish was not my first language, and I typically don't write in it, but speaking it is fine for me, and I've been doing so since I was a kid. Yes, this story really happened.
Seems to me like she might have been the one doing the flirting.
Am I the jerk for making my husband pay for a mistake out of his allowance? My husband and I have an allowance system that prevents a lot of arguments about incidental spending. Both of our salaries go into a joint account for all bills, investments, and agreed upon purchases. The allowance is a smaller amount, $50 to $100 a week, but always equal for each of us, that gets moved to separate accounts for each of us, with the understanding that we can spend this money on whatever, no permission needed. Usually it's spent on individual hobbies and splurges. This works well for us. Today I was looking through my husband's credit card bill that I had used recently, with his permission, to make some travel arrangements. We don't keep any secret bills. This credit card is auto-paid from our joint account. I saw a $73 charge to YouTube and asked him about it. He said he didn't remember buying anything, so I dug deeper. Turns out he had subscribed to YouTube TV last December to watch a football game on a road trip and he had forgotten about it. I had no idea because this was his YouTube account, his email notifications, his credit card. The total charge added up to $675. I admit I was annoyed and I made some short comments. You should always set a reminder to cancel these things. If you were responsible about checking your email, this might not have happened. There's a history of him being irresponsible with bills and missing important emails. I manage almost all of the finances. We're in good shape, but I hate the idea of waste. We weren't even utilizing that expensive subscription. He paid that money to watch one thing 10 months ago. I told him that to be fair, he'd have to pay the $675 out of his fun money. He had more than enough in there because he was saving for a bigger hobby purchase. I canceled the YouTube subscription on his phone, then used the banking app on my phone to move the money from his allowance account back to the joint account. I probably should have asked him to move the money himself, but I was upset. I felt more calm after doing the money transfer because to me, the matter was then settled. He got irritated and said he shouldn't have to pay out of his allowance for a simple mistake. I said, everyone has to pay for their mistakes. That's how life works. Maybe I was harsh, but the wasted money was all on him. I don't see any better way to resolve it. He pointed out that we are doing fine financially. We're fortunate that $675 out of the joint account won't affect our budgeting for the month, but it will make a big difference to his savings for his hobbies, as it is close to 2 months of his allowance. His allowance. It was the principle of the matter to me. I'm very careful with money. No matter how well we do financially, I'll always look for good deals and avoid frivolous spending. So, am I the jerk for moving my husband's fun and allowance money to pay for a mistake that he made? Edit. I appreciate the responses, as reading the objective viewpoints helped me realize I behaved badly, more punitive than fair. Marriage is a partnership, not a balance sheet, and honest mistakes happen. I reacted out of irritation about the money without thinking about the bigger picture. I called my husband and apologized. He said he didn't blame me for being irritated, as he was irritated about the money too, but he appreciated the apology. He said we could talk later about moving the money back or not. He should be grateful that he has such a great mom. This is how I feel. Like the money is being micromanaged and OP is treating her husband like a kid. I could never. The entire system of allowances, etc. Best option is to have a joint account and then also have separate accounts. A set amount of money goes into the joint accounts each month to cover bills and savings, but the majority of each individual's expendable income can stay within their personal account, and they can do with it whatever they want to, as long as it doesn't jeopardize the overall finances of their marriage and partner. I would never share my finances with someone who wanted to have allowances. They can treat their own income that way if it works best for them, but I don't want someone else controlling how I spend my money so long as I'm not misspending or hurting our overall marriage. If he only used it once, ages ago, he might be able to get a refund by reaching out to customer support. I assume you'll be the one doing that for him. Not the jerk, because it seems like he's habitually irresponsible with money, and this is the proverbial straw. Unfortunately, you're the jerk. I'm like you in that I'm very careful about charges and reviewing my credit card bill, so he or you should definitely be doing that. He shouldn't have been so careless, but it was a mistake. Everyone paying for their mistakes may be how life works, but you're a team, and it doesn't affect your finances. Let's use the golden rule here. Would you want him to punish you for a mistake like this? OP. You're right. My reaction was out of irritation, but it was purely a mistake on his part. Despite the carelessness, he didn't do it on purpose. After having some time to calm down and read these objective responses, I realize I'm in the wrong, and I will apologize to him. To be honest though, I would pay it back from my own account if it were me. I would feel too guilty about the money and the mistake otherwise. While it was a mistake, and he should have been more rigorous, he's not your 12-year-old kid. Allowances, taking away allowances. You both are adults here. A mistake was made, it's been corrected, and see if there's a pattern. This isn't a mistake where you've gone broke or can't pay your bills, etc. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her husband? Please let us know.
Bruh, if I make some sort of mistake and waste $650, I'm not gonna expect anybody else to pay it. That's up to me. I did it. I should take accountability for my actions.
Accountability though, Karen, that's the word. Reddit, you know, they're just not big fans of that whole concept.
No wonder they're all so crazy.
My boyfriend's female friends have disinvited me from multiple holidays. Should I accept this? I'm in a long-distance relationship with my boyfriend, and today we've had a really difficult day communicating due to me feeling quite depressed. He's been out drinking all day with 2 female friends, and I've asked him if we can chat about a few important things when he gets home. He gets home at about 10 p.m. and is pretty wasted, so we don't really get anywhere with our discussion. He then tells me around 11 p.m. the 2 girls are heading over because one has just had a huge fight with her boyfriend. I ask him to ask them to go somewhere else, as I really want to sort out our issues, and he lies and says, "They probably won't turn up." 10 minutes later, he says they're out the door, but when I dig a little, it's actually only one of them. They're friends, but they do have a history. He's aware that I'm not comfortable with them on a one-on-one when booze is involved. Not through lack of trust, but more so I feel it's disrespectful to me. He begins to hang up on me, telling me I'm being irrational when I keep asking him to please respect my boundary. So I tell him if he won't listen to my boundary, I'll ask her, because we went to school together and we are reasonably friendly. He continues to go off on me, telling me I'm irrational, while she tells me how platonic they are. But neither acknowledge the fact that as a long-distance couple, one thing I don't feel comfortable with is drunken sleepovers with old flings, as I don't feel like we need the added stress, and I know he would flip if I did. Why do people stay in relationships with people who do this kind of stuff? I just don't get it. I've clearly laid out all these boundaries to him multiple times through prior conversations. Am I the jerk for messaging her when he ignored me? I would love to hear what people feel a fair compromise would be, and also if I need to consider if my expectations are too high. For context, the clique is my boyfriend, 2 girls and 1 guy. I attended school with the girls and briefly dated my boyfriend's male friend 6 years ago. They also have all done things together in the past, kissing only. My boyfriend and I began dating in December of 2022, and I've known him since childhood, but we lost touch for over 15 years. At the beginning of our relationship, I sensed negativity from this group of friends, but was reassured by all of them that there was no issue. My boyfriend and myself also cleared things with his friend who I had dated, who assured us there were no unresolved issues and that he was happy for us. Fast forward 3 months, and they were drinking and book a holiday. My boyfriend initially invited me, but the group stated they didn't want it to be a couple's holiday, and therefore they didn't want me to go. His male friend at this point cited our history as a reason why he felt uncomfortable. I reluctantly accepted this, but assured my boyfriend I didn't think it was appropriate for the past to be used like this in the future, as I felt we should all move forward and accept the present. The issue did cause a rift between myself and my boyfriend, affecting how secure I felt in the following months, as I wasn't sure how he would respond in future instances. Another trip was discussed, and my boyfriend said he would ask his friend not to exclude me, but a while after this conversation occurred, his friend again messaged their group chat to request if it could be just friends. By this point, my boyfriend has not stood up for me regarding this issue for many months, and last week I became fed up of the atmosphere and messaged 2 of the friends asking why they kept covertly uninviting me. They both responded very defensively, and the male again reiterated our history as a relevant reason. He also stated the 4 of them have a special friendship, and time together as a 4 is valuable. My boyfriend has seconded this. He said initially he would have liked us to get along, which we do, but that's obviously not what they want, and despite my efforts, they prefer it just being the 4 of them on holidays and trips. He also said he wouldn't be against supporting the exclusion of me on certain trips, as you can't force them to want to spend time with you. All I want is for us to just be mature, squash it and move on, but it does feel like no one wants to do the same. It also feels like my past dating history is being unfairly used to justify this. I have no issues with him remaining friends with them. I only take issue with the cliquey nature, and I feel that this can't really coexist healthily with our relationship. I'm very comfortable with conflict resolution and would happily move past this, but I sense these people aren't and won't want to. We're currently on a break while we both evaluate our boundaries. I know I shouldn't pass the blame on to his friends, but it does aggravate me that their preferences are having such an impact on our relationship, and rather than ask them to reevaluate their position, he finds it easier to blame me, telling me, "You're letting it ruin us." They really are a childish group, and your boyfriend is really no help. Don't force yourself into that group dynamic. It doesn't sound like it would be fun or healthy for you. If I were in your position, I would develop friends and hobbies outside of him and his friend group. Take some trips without him. Don't make him the center of your life, and don't give the stupid friend group the pleasure of knowing that you are bothered. You should also consider if he balances the time that he's spending with you versus taking trips with them. If not, then you have a discussion with him and decide if the relationship is worth the drama. OP. That's the thing. I generally don't have complaints about how he splits his time. We're long distance, and I live in England for the most part, and them in Ireland, but myself and him visit back and forth. I just don't like the precedent that it's okay for me to be excluded from future trips from the get-go. But at the same time, if he himself is saying, "I want it to only be the 4 of us," I don't know how to feel about that considering the way that it's all happened. I'm torn between respecting his wishes and ignoring them, or insisting on more respect. Final update. I've explained my feelings over and over, and I've now walked away. I cannot maintain self-respect while accepting a partner who harbors and encourages this type of exclusion, and quite frankly is bullying me. It's an extremely hard choice, but needed for my own sense of self and peace of mind. Am I the jerk for reaching out to the bride's makeup artist behind the bride's back and almost getting the entire bridal party fired as clients? The bride, Rika, is super nice and understanding. Her main request to the bridesmaids was having hair and makeup done by the same hair and makeup artist, with Rika paying the morning of the wedding for the getting ready hangout. Rika had her mind set on a specific artist that offered a fancy bridal experience with lots of extras, and she was very excited about it. I wear bold, dramatic makeup daily. I had no issue sticking to Rika's very different preferred style for her wedding. However, over the last few years, I had a number of painful reactions to makeup products, and I was never able to figure out the trigger. If I immediately take makeup off, pain goes away in hours and discomfort fades in a few days. While reactions are rare, I now stick to specific makeup lines that I know work for me. I asked Rika if she could ask the hair and makeup artist what products they use, or I could do my own makeup while everyone else was getting theirs done, trying for the same look. But Rika just kept saying that she had a reputable makeup artist that followed professional standards of hygiene, and that the makeup would be quite light. It seemed in her head, reactions could only happen with a shady makeup artist or heavy makeup. Rika said she could pay for me to have a trial done on the same day she'd have hers, so I don't have to worry. I agreed like an idiot. Then I realized that didn't work, because if the makeup artist used a triggering product, I would still have a painful reaction, just on a different day. I messaged Rika again, and I had the same pointless conversations. The trial day was coming. I didn't want to just cancel. It made sense in my head to message the makeup artist with my question directly. Unexpectedly, the makeup artist straight up said she can't work on me for liability reasons, as I can't identify problem ingredients. Not even using products I name is safe. She also asked if the bride was aware. Turns out Rika had filled out a form that confirmed no one had known makeup sensitivities. I don't blame Rika. She signs medical and customs forms without reading them. But the makeup artist was enraged. She almost fired Rika as a client 5 weeks ahead of the wedding. They worked it out. I haven't even heard of a makeup artist with such forms or such a hardcore stance in general. Rika and her maid of honor since implied I was intentionally sabotaging so I could do my usual attention-grabbing makeup. I'm hoping that's maid of honor and bride stress talking, and not what Rika really thinks of me. Several people told me I should have just risked it, considering my reactions, and the chance of them occurring in the first place, are relatively minor. The more people say this, the more I'm thinking that maybe that is what was expected of me as a friend. Obviously, my worst move was messaging the makeup artist directly, but I wasn't getting anywhere with Rika, and I was afraid that she'd be mad if I just said I wasn't doing the hair and makeup thing. But the more I think of it, going behind her back on something so important to her may make me a jerk. Edit. People keep asking about patch testing. My reactions only trigger on my lips and eyelids. Arm swatching or whatever doesn't help. Edit 2. I've been to doctors and had allergy tests done. Nothing. They think it's not a true allergy, but a reaction to something my body finds particularly irritating for some reason. There's no obvious common ingredient. I have every outward symptom for referred pollen allergy, but not an actual pollen allergy. Not the jerk. Addressing your medical needs directly is totally reasonable. To be honest, I would be willing to quit the bridal party over it. You never know when a skin reaction could turn to something more serious. Not the jerk. A reputable makeup artist would be okay with you bringing your own products for her to use if you're allergic. Am I the jerk for leaving my boyfriend when his ex passed, leaving him to take care of his kids full time? I, female 26, have been with my boyfriend who's 30 for 2 years now. He has 2 kids who are 6 and 4 with his ex-girlfriend. She moved to another state with the kids to be near her family when they broke up 3 years ago. He got them on vacations only. I knew all this when I started dating him. I had no issue with this, but told him up front that I didn't want to be a parent. My mom basically made me raise my 5 younger siblings. The oldest of them is 6 years younger than me, and I had to change his diapers and feed him formula. I went low contact with my family when I left home at 18. I can't imagine doing that again. He was also snipped after the last kid and didn't want any more. He was fine with me not wanting to be a parent and just be a bonus adult. We were taking it slow, and I didn't even meet his kids until a few months back. We took a trip together and got along great. Things changed 2 months ago when his ex passed. The kids were really sad as they moved into his house. We were not living together, but he asked if I could move in to help him out, just for a while. I couldn't refuse and I stayed, but I started hating it again. I hated how clingy the kids became and how much responsibility I had. I did my best, but my mental health started getting worse every day. I didn't even get help from my boyfriend because he was struggling too. Last week was especially bad since the younger one had a cold and wanted me to nurse her back to health exactly the way her mom would have. The soup wasn't the same. The song and story weren't the same. I didn't hug her the same way her mom did, etc. were some of the long lists of complaints. I know she's grieving, but I was already working from home and stressed too. When I told my boyfriend he should take over, he said that they need me more since I am a mom. It triggered me. I didn't want to be held to a mom's responsibilities again. I told him I can't do this. He said I needed to stop acting like a kid and step up. I understood that if I stayed, my whole life would be like this, never measuring up, never being enough, and all the responsibilities of a mom. I left yesterday, moved in with a friend. My boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, is blasting my phone, calling me a jerk. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. No one should feel obligated to parent someone else's kids, and you've already done that once. Don't do it again if your mental health isn't up to it. The fact that he said, "since you're a mom," shows he hasn't understood or cared to understand any of your past experiences and the boundaries that you've established. Why is he not at home with his sick kid? Listen, he wants you to move in so you can take over all the parenting decisions and responsibilities when he can continue on about his life. He even called you mom. After hearing about what you've been through, he still had the nerve to do this. He needs to step up and be there for his kids, and you did the right thing. Am I the jerk for turning down my stepdad's offer to walk me down the aisle? I, 27 female, have chosen to walk down the aisle alone on my wedding day. The decision was made for 2 reasons. My dad passed when I was 7, and he would be my #1 choice if he were alive, but he's not. And 2, my mom has made it perfectly clear that she would find it disrespectful to my stepdad if she walked me down the aisle, and so we would not do it. Given that both my parents are out, and I don't want to ask my paternal grandparents to do too much, my grandma and I are already sharing a special dance. Walking alone is what I feel the most comfortable doing. I could ask my stepdad, and even when I contemplated my decision, I knew he would want to do it. But it would make me sad to have him walk me instead of my dad, if I'm honest. I think my stepdad is a good man, and he has tried his very best to be a dad for me. But I didn't want a dad when I lost mine. I wanted my dad. Nobody else was ever going to be able to fill that role in my heart. I asked my mom and stepdad if they would like to do a joint toast or 2 separate ones, and whether they would like to walk down the aisle or dance to specific songs. While discussing this, my stepdad asked who I would be walking down the aisle with, and I told him I was walking alone. He offered to do it, and I said it was a lovely offer, but I would walk alone. He pressed me on why, and I said it felt like the best option. He said it would mean the world to him if he could do it. If just once he could feel like he's a real dad and not just the second place to my dad. I told him I understood, but it was not an option on the table. He said he was already being shamed by having to watch me dance with my grandma when it should be a father-daughter dance. But to have everyone watch me walk alone when they know I have a stepdad is going to send a very big message. I know people will ask about details on our relationship, etc. I met my stepdad when I was 9, and he married my mom when I was 10. He offered to adopt me and give me his last name, and I turned him down 5 times in the 8 years that I lived with them. He was married before my mom, and he lost his wife and his unborn baby in an accident. He was also made sterile by the same accident. He always longed to be a dad. We got along well, but our relationship was always more to him than it was to me. Where he sees a daughter and wants a daughter, I see a good man and someone who is a great spouse to my mom and good to me, but does not fill the father role he wants to emotionally for me. Physically he did, but emotionally I never felt like he was my dad, and everyone in our lives is aware that I feel as though I have only one dad and my stepdad is my stepdad. My mom and stepdad are not paying or contributing to the wedding in any way. My fiance and I both have savings, and we're putting those into the wedding. Though our wedding will be small since we want to prioritize other things. My mom and stepdad say that I'm rude and heartless for turning down their offer. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. The only rude ones are your mom and stepdad. While I can definitely sympathize with him, he's making your wedding about himself. He may be a good man, but he's definitely very selfish in this particular case. Stand your ground. It's your wedding. Your dad must have been amazing, and I'm sure he'll want you to be happy on that day, and every other day. No jerks here, but this post, I'll be honest, shows once again why step-parents don't like to invest emotionally in their stepkids. You're the jerk, publicly embarrassing a man who wanted to be your dad, wanted to adopt you, who raised you, who loves you, rejecting him because he's not someone else. Wah wah. Thousands of kids in foster care would love to have an adoptive dad like yours. And your mom's a jerk for not getting you help. It's your day. Do what you want. But you're cold-hearted and apparently don't mind that character trait being the star attraction at your wedding. Doing what you want doesn't mean getting to humiliate people who raised you and did nothing wrong. Your stepdad sounds like he will be a class act and not embarrass you. If I were him, I'd just probably RSVP no and step back. It's an invitation, not a summons, right? You clearly care more about the fantasy image of your biological dad than the person in front of you. I hope your stepdad wakes up and makes sure you don't inherit anything if your mom passes first. No hard feelings since he's nothing to you. Completely agree. For the 45 seconds it takes to walk, it would be a massive thank you for the emotional, physical, and financial effort he has helped with over the years for a kid that wasn't his own. You're the jerk. Never raise kids that aren't yours. They won't appreciate you and will only resent you more and more. Don't fall for the fairy tale stories. It never works out that way. Well, what do you think? Is Opie the jerk or not? Please let us know. New teacher is stealing school supplies that the parents bought. I'm 35, female, and my daughter, Natty, who's 8, started a new school this August. We moved from one coast to another, and we had some adjusting to do. When she started school, her teacher gave us a list of supplies she needed. Things like 24 packs of crayons, 300 pencils, etc. These are examples. I don't remember exact numbers, but it was quite a lot. I got everything on the list. The school is located in a very good district, and most parents are well off, and as far as I know, most parents have bought everything that was on the list. You'd think that it was done and dusted, but no. We're a month in, and Natty just brought a new list home which lists the same supplies in large quantities. I thought it might have been a mistake and messaged other mothers in our group chat, and they were as surprised as I was. However, the list was confirmed by an email we received from the teacher, asking us to bring the supplies as soon as possible and that lists will be supplied to us every 4 to 6 weeks. I know that kids go through a lot of supplies, but not this many. It was all very odd. I tried to snoop a little and find the teacher on Facebook, but I couldn't find her. However, when my friend came over, she was able to locate her. It seems that the teacher blocked all the parents on Facebook. Turns out that the teacher is selling supplies, crayons, etc. on the marketplace, and she had a page and a link to her website. To say that I was shocked would be an understatement. It seems that she's asking the parents to buy extra supplies and then resells it. What other reason does she have to require over 400 packs of crayons every 4 to 6 weeks? Like I said, most parents supplied everything on the supply list. I've kept it to myself because I'm unsure of what to do, but I am considering reporting the teacher to school so they can properly investigate. I thought it was the right thing to do, but my sister-in-law is a teacher, and she told me I would be the jerk if I were to do that, because kids go through a lot of supplies and no way the teacher resells them. It's probably a coincidence. But I don't know. It doesn't sit right with me. I haven't told other parents about my suspicions because I don't want to start a witch hunt before school can investigate. But would I be the jerk for reporting her? Speaking as a former teacher, this is disgusting and outrageous. Get her fired. Go straight to the principal, and if he does not fire her, take it to the school board. The teachers' union will not protect her on this. Absolutely not the jerk. Unbelievable. I'm not a teacher, but I have a lot of teacher friends and thought this was going to be one of those the teacher puts all the supplies into a communal pot for the school year type situations. But taking them and reselling them? That is absolutely wild. OP, not the jerk, report her and don't let the fallout of her actions trouble you one bit. Not the jerk. I'd request a meeting with school officials and tell them discretion is a must and bring evidence of her reselling on Marketplace and the 2 lists. The times apart between lists, etc. Bring all the receipts you have. Tell them that you aren't trying to witch hunt this teacher, but that you also do not want to be supplying school supplies if she is reselling them, and that you find it ridiculous that you need to supply new products every 4 to 6 weeks as it is unreasonable. Also, that you haven't brought the Marketplace reselling to the attention of other parents as to not cause an undue attack on said teacher, but you are sure they would feel the same way and they find the new supply list every 4 to 6 weeks ridiculous. You're the jerk. People like you have no idea how hard it is being a teacher in today's public school system. I was a teacher for 4 years until I was wrongfully fired due to the constant harassment from students. I couldn't take it anymore and said some things to those brats that the board did not agree with. Maybe if they paid us appropriately, we wouldn't have to steal supplies and resell them just to keep a roof over our heads. This practice is much more common than you'd think. We also would keep a decent amount of pooled money from the field trip collection. It's just a perk of being a teacher. Sorry, not sorry. One day we'll all strike and straight up quit. Who's going to teach your brats then? It definitely won't be me. By the way, thanks for paying my college debt. With all of my unemployment benefits and now 0 college debt, I'm pretty much retired at 28 years old. I'm seeing a few of the dads I met while I was a teacher. Hopefully one of them will be having a baby with me soon. Then we'll see which one gets excited when I tell them we're going to be parents. He'll be the easiest one to hook for child support. And if he wants a paternity test, my girlfriend who works at the hospital knows how to fake them. She makes over $100,000 a year under the table because of this. She's already told me whatever I need, she'll do it for free, because that's what friends do.
You were a teacher? God help our public school system.
Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or the teacher? Please let us know.
I'd create a new Facebook account and meet up with her to buy some of the items. That's when you confront her and record the whole thing, post it on YouTube and watch it go viral. Hopefully you'd get more thumbs up than we do. Most of our viewers don't click that like button, and it breaks our hearts.
Hint, hint. Karen demands I bake her a wedding cake at a huge discount. I, 32 female, have a friend, Ashley, who's 33, who's getting married the first week of November. We've been friends since we were kids, and I'm also a bridesmaid in her wedding. We've been talking about wedding stuff for the past year, as I recently married in April, so it's been fun doing wedding stuff together until Ashley dropped some bad news. The person responsible for the cake for her wedding is moving and is no longer able to do it. She was refunded her money, but now is out of a cake. I'm a cake decorator myself. I was a teacher, and this is my first year as a school administrator, but I've held jobs in high-end bakeries and make cakes for fun out of my house. I don't have a cake business, as I don't want one. Ashley asked me if I can do her wedding cake. I at first declined, as I never do cakes for large events, but with the date coming up and her not being able to find anyone, I caved. Ashley wants a 4-tiered cake with 4 different flavors and 100 cupcakes, 25 of each flavor. The decorations will require me to order specialty molds, and I'll have to hand paint some gold onto the cake. Total cost came out to $825, $100 more than the previous baker. Ashley was upset and said I was overcharging, but I showed her the breakdown. I used the same pricing system as one of the bakeries I worked at, and it wasn't even the most expensive one. I told her I would do it for the other quote if she was strapped for money, but Ashley then asked me to do it for only $150. When I asked why, Ashley said since she's my friend, she could get a good deal and she could use the money to upgrade the hotel for their honeymoon, to think of it as my wedding gift to her. I told her she was getting a good deal, as I was willing to go to the price point of the previous baker. But she mentioned that I did my sister's cake for free several years ago, and do free birthday and anniversary cakes for my immediate family all the time. I told her family and friends are not the same. Plus, I had more time to do my sister's cake, as I had less responsibilities as a teacher back then compared to what I do now. She told me I needed a friend discount, so I said, "The discount is, you get 0% off 100% of the time, and if you keep bothering me, I'll even add tax." Basically, Ashley didn't like that response and has told the rest of the bridal party what I said, so I'm getting pressure from 9 additional people to drop the price, though some say to half it instead of dropping it to $150. My parents paid for my wedding, so their main argument is I don't need the money nearly as much as Ashley does, which they only know because they saw me using my parents' credit card several times when out wedding shopping. Only her maid of honor, her sister, thinks Ashley is being unreasonable. My husband thinks I should drop out of the wedding and not give her anything, but he also doesn't like Ashley or her fiancé. He thinks she's a spoiled brat. Am I the jerk? Edit. I've only paid for my dress for her wedding. I'm also doing my own hair and makeup myself, but the only money I've spent so far for her wedding on my end is for my dress and shoes. Edit 2. To clarify, baking is a skill. Paying for just ingredients and molds would be maybe $150 to $200, but is already factored into the cake cost you buy. What most home bakers base their price on is the intricacy of the design, the difficulty, their clientele location, and most importantly, time. Then cakes are priced with that combined with the serving size. She has 120 guests. A serving is $475 per person, so $570. Because 100 doesn't divide by 12, but is still a large number of cupcakes, I discounted the cupcakes from $350 per decorated wedding cupcake to the price of a regular plain cupcake with no decorations, which is $250. So the cupcakes were $250. Total price is $820. I upped it to $825, so the extra $5 could pay for the box to deliver the cake, which I don't normally have in my house as I don't typically make cakes that big. Not the jerk. If they all want you to drop the price, they can all throw in $100. A wedding cake and 100 cupcakes for a wedding isn't the same as Aunt Betty's 58th birthday. That's pressure times 10. Not the jerk, and I agree with your husband. You should give Ashley a $700 gift on top of what you probably already spent? No, her entitlement is not your problem. Plus, the harassment is unacceptable, and the longer she waits, the less chance she's going to get her over-the-top cake, and more likely she'll wind up with a sheet cake from Walmart. Not the jerk. Also, reminder on something super important. What if the cake isn't exactly what she thought it should look like in her head? Like, what if the image doesn't match her vision? Do you know how much of a hassle you'd go through to get any sort of payment? Or she'd try to harass you into a refund because it's not what she ordered. She's trying to scam you out of a free cake. For goodness sake, 4 tiers, all different colors? That alone is a nightmare to get just right. Plus, the specialty molds you may not even use again are very limitedly. The cupcakes? Oh no. Because you'd have to ice them at the wedding unless the reception venue has a decent-sized walk-in fridge unit to store said cupcakes and cake in to avoid melting from the heat. But hand frosting 100 cupcakes with frosting that may be different to each plus decorating? Oh no. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or Ashley? Please let us know.
No wonder your husband doesn't like her. Never let an Ashley all over you. You'll always talk about Karen, but you sleeping on Ashley's, bruh.
Do this next. Tap here on your screen to come see our new podcast playlist, where you'll find thousands of hours of the best stories you've ever heard.
Or tap the one on the right. That episode is specifically just for you, based on other videos you've enjoyed the most.